Kai Cenat's arrest has to be one of the most preposterous arrests and overcharging of a celebrity in recent memory. Is the beloved Twitch streamer going to prison? Is he going to pay a fine? Was any of this mess on purpose? I'm America's attorney. I'm Josh Sanford, and I'm here to break down the bizarre events of Kai Cenat's weekend for you. 2 bogus charges, 1 actual crime, and a ton of potential lawsuits. Let's get into it and discuss the rules of the game right now. Kai Cenat has over 6.5 million followers on Twitch, okay? He has, across all platforms, over 15 million followers. One of his recent Twitch streams was one in which he invited people to come to a park in New York City called Union Square Park for a giveaway. I've watched the footage of the announcement. He just says he wants them to come to the park. He doesn't say anything about being violent or having craziness or any kind of riot. He says he's going to give away PlayStation consoles and $100 gift cards. So that's exactly the type of fun, fan-oriented thing that you would expect someone like him to do. But what does that announcement imply? To me, his announcement makes clear that he's expecting the audience to be quiet enough and orderly enough for him to be able to ask questions and for them to be able to answer the questions, because he says he's going to give away things to people who answer the questions correctly. So he's going to have to be able to hear them. This doesn't sound to me like he's guilty of anything sinister, like planning a riot. I mean, that just sounds laughable. But he didn't only get charged with the misdemeanor crime of inciting a riot, but he also caught a felony charge of first-degree rioting for himself. Now, this crime is defined as the tumultuous and violent conduct that's meant to cause public alarm and that results in injuries or property damage. And this is punishable by up to 4 years in prison and a $5,000 fine in the state of New York. While inciting a riot, the other charge, can carry a 1-year prison sentence and a fine of up to $1,000. Now, to be clear, I'm not taking the position that what happened at the park was good or safe or anything like that. I'm thankful I wasn't there. I'm thankful I wasn't a business owner nearby. And I'm thankful that my teenage children weren't there. And speaking of, according to law enforcement, most of the people who were there were teens, people under the age of 18, not adults. But let's get real about the definition of these crimes for a second. Let's take on the rioting charge itself first. In order to convict someone in a case of felony rioting, Kai has to have engaged in tumultuous and violent conduct. Well, rest assured, there are literally hundreds of camera phones filming everything that happened. And on top of that, Kai Cenat's own camera team, who's working on a documentary or, some sort of vlog to document the giveaway to make a video out of it. So we're going to have footage. We're going to know if he was violent or tumultuous, whatever tumultuous means. Now, all of the footage is going to bear me out. He was not engaging in that type of conduct himself. He just wasn't. Now, of the footage that I've seen, the most noticeable thing is that the crowd was already riled up and agitated and kind of behaving badly by the time that he got there. And the impromptu press conference of law enforcement makes this clear after the fact. They said the exact same thing. So how can he be guilty of their wild behavior when he's not even there? No, of course he can't be. Unless he riled them up ahead of time, but he didn't. His announcement was only about the fan meetup and the giveaways. And the other footage shows him functionally being rescued by his security team and by law enforcement. If he's the source of violence and if he's the organizer of this event and it's meant to cause harm, then why does he need to be rescued? Because he should be in on it. What a joke. But remember, under the statute, it's not just engaging in tumultuous and violent conduct, tumultuous and violent conduct. But it must be intended to cause a public alarm or actual injury. Now, he wasn't trying to cause public alarm either in the announcement that he made or in the giveaway at the park. Instead, he was trying to deepen his connection with his fans, presumably make some content, and brighten a few people's day. So not sinister, not felonious, not even misdemeanorish. Now, under penal law section 240.08, a person is guilty of inciting a riot when he urges 10 or more persons to engage in tumultuous and violent conduct of a kind that's likely to create public harm. Yeah, he had more than 10 people there, but it didn't happen. He didn't encourage people to do anything like that. But the popular streamer and the organizer of the event was not the only person who was arrested. And you probably already know this. According to news reports, 65 other people were arrested as well. That is a ton. And now there's footage of people committing actual crimes. They're committing like assault, they're committing battery, and they're looting, and they're committing property damage. And these are criminal acts that are clearly not chargeable or associated with the intent of Kai Cenat to have a fan giveaway in the park. It just doesn't add up. I don't think that it's too early to say that these two charges against Kai Cenat are going to be dismissed. Now, some of my viewers have pointed out that there are basically two types of justice systems in the United States, and the court system that is available to people who can afford expensive and talented lawyers is simply not the same court system that is available to the rest of us, to regular people. Well, Kai Cenat is not a regular person. He will be able to afford as much legal representation as he wants for these criminal charges. He is not going to be punished for those two charges. So if Kai Cenat lawyers up and gets out of these two charges, then that should mean he won't face any legal trouble at all because of this event, right? Well, not exactly. There's another offense he's been charged with that I would hypothesize, knowing what I know right now, he's 100% guilty of it. According to law enforcement, the streamer did not go through the proper channels to get a permit in order to hold an event in the park. And you might think, oh, well, Josh, that's just like an administrative offense. That doesn't really matter. No one should really care about that. However, if he applies for a permit and the city is aware that he's going to fill the park with excited people, and all of them are there hoping to get free things, then you had better believe that law enforcement is going to have a presence there. And they're not going to come after a riot breaks out. They're going to come ahead of time so that no riot breaks out. It's like a prophylactic at the beginning of the event. This was a major thought process gaffe by Mr. Cenat, in my opinion. And this problem highlights the reality that there are young people out there like Kai Cenat, although he's one of the biggest, who are social media stars and online influencers who really don't understand the way that the world actually works, like IRL. Now, it should go without saying that the last thing that Kai Cenat wanted was for anyone to get hurt, right? These are his fans, and he doesn't want property to be damaged. For fans to hurt each other, that's a terrible, terrible moment for him personally, I'm sure. However, his failure to follow very ordinary regulations about applying for and receiving a permit are the actual necessary preconditions to the bad result that occurred there in the park this past weekend. And this leads me to what I believe is the bad news for Kai Cenat. Anyone and everyone who was injured in this event, whether physically or economically, has the opportunity to sue him for his negligence, because in court, the injured party's lawyers are going to be able to connect his lack of an application for a permit and his failure to act reasonably under the circumstances leading up to the event to the causation necessary to support a jury award of money damages against him to the injured people. Now, there were people who were injured by the criminal acts of others, and the question is whether such conduct and such injuries are foreseeable under the circumstances. To me, it's not that complicated. The reason that law enforcement can be there is in order to prevent the very thing that happened. So let me say, it's not like he had an unpermitted event and some rogue crazy person drove a vehicle through the park and injured some people. Police couldn't have prevented that. But instead, the people that he pulled together in a mob-like state without any law enforcement, they turned on each other, and they also turned on people nearby. And those are the exact people who own food carts, people who with other businesses, that can sue Kai Cenat. And they will likely win, in my opinion. And of course, these are not criminal violations that we're talking about, but instead civil liability. If I'm handicapping the outcome of those claims, I'm saying that Kai Cenat is going to have to pay a lot of money to resolve these claims, many of them arising from this event. But again, this is civil liability and it's not criminal punishment, which means, of course, that if he's running like an organized business that's mature and thoughtful, he's going to have an insurance policy that's going to cover claims exactly like this. Now, whether he has such an insurance policy is unknown to me, but the fact that he didn't apply for a permit makes me think that he's not really running the most organized business in America, and maybe he doesn't have the insurance coverage for this, and so maybe these things are going to cost him out of his pocket. But let's keep it real. With millions and millions of followers, plaintiffs' lawyers are going to look at him, and they're going to say, wow, this guy has got some deep pockets. And those lawyers are going to happily sue him, whether or not he has insurance. Now, I'd love to know what you think. First of all, would you go to an event like this? And if you go, are you thinking that it might be dangerous, or is it all very relaxed for you? And then the other question I have for you is whether you think the organizer of an event like this should have to pay for the injuries that people suffer that are caused by the violence of others, especially if they don't incite it. I would like to know. So drop your pro se opinion in the comments down below. And of course, while you're down there, hit the like button. It's not hard. And do not be shy about subscribing to this channel. It's free. And when you subscribe, you send a message to the algorithm to push this video out to other people who are just like you